Thanks for joining this instance of the Antrea community meeting. Today is Tuesday, March the 1st, or if you are in the United States or on the west, let's say on the west side of the Atlantic, it will still be February the 28th. So thanks for joining this meeting. For today, we have 2 topics in the agenda. Initially, we communicated 3, but we actually have a slightly shorter agenda. So first, we have seen some follow-up questions from the last meeting. And these questions, as you remember, are around the multicast network policy enforcement. And I think that Bean and Ruochen are here to provide an answer to these questions. And then Venchi is going to present a design for the node selector for Antrea network policies. This is a feature that will apply to both network policies and cluster network policies. So without I think I don't have to talk anymore. I can just let everyone else in the meeting talk. So maybe we can start resuming the conversation on multicast network policy enforcement. So I will hand it over to Bean and Ruochen for that.
Okay, I will go first.
Sure.
Let me share the screen. Last meeting, I have 2 open issues. The first is to for the protocol. I found that POS has also the protocol, but it only supports for TCP, UDP, and SCTP. So I want to reuse this variable and extend to values for IGMP and multicast. IGMP is for IGMP protocol, and multicast is for multicast traffic. In fact, it's not a real protocol, but there is a difference between the IGMP and the normal multicast traffic. And the second, for the IP address, I found there is a from in ingress and a to in egress, and so far we do not have the request for multicast ingress. So for multicast egress, we can use the IP block in 2 to indicate the multicast address. Yes, that's the 2 open issues. Any comments?
So being I got you need a protocol for IGMP, but why you need also need a type for multicast?
Yeah, since multicast is based on UDP, but so it's different from IGMP. I want to distinguish whether the rule is for IGMP or for normal multicast traffic.
I think if you don't specify IGMP, that just means all the multicast traffic, right?
Yeah.
And why you still need a type or protocol value for multicast?
At first, I just want to make. Yeah, I think your idea is also. I think your idea is better. So multicast maybe is not necessary.
We always set some IP block when it matches multicast traffic, right? So
yeah.
the IP block should be able to distinguish unicast and multicast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel using the ports for IGMP looks a little strange. I think we are also discussing similar requirements for ICMP. Actually, I add you to a slide. Maybe you can also talk more offline. But at least I feel it looks strange to put IGMP under ports. So I was thinking I should add a new field at the same level of ports to support protocols like ICMP, IGMP, and potentially other protocols.
But there is also a protocol in POS. Maybe I think it's a little confused. There are two. If there are two protocols,
I'm thinking maybe we could rename pods to something like services. Is that okay? Then
Eve said he doesn't want to name services. Yeah, but maybe you can think about some other name. I don't know.
okay.
I think his point is like service is a term in Kubernetes, right? So.
But I recall that Kubernetes node policy, this field is service. I'm not really sure, but I remember I see service in Kubernetes node policy. Maybe the structure name or maybe the field name.
I remember it's just ports, right? No?
No, there's no services. I think Tim Hawkins also wasn't liking the idea of services when we proposed it for admin network policies.
So how do we plan to support something like SMP in upstream, or it will never support it?
We actually haven't get this discussion about ICMP in upstream. I feel like I don't recall there are any requesting in upstream for ICMP or IGMP for that matter. So I do feel like this is a conversation we haven't had before. But to the point of whether we can reuse the ports, forgive my ignorance, but does it not make sense to provide a port number for IGMP? Is that just not a thing?
No, if you rename it to, I think either you rename it or you add a new field. If you rename it, for example, I know we don't like service, but for example, we call it service. Then this service can have a protocol field. You can also have a port number, but only for TCP and the UDP CTP. But for other protocols or services, you don't have a port number.
Right. I understand that part. There's like, I feel like there's two, I wouldn't say issue, but things to look for that. First of all, if we actually rename the ports, we're looking at a backward compatibility issue, right? And second, it is usually not a good idea to just leave it to some sort of like admission controller to validate that if it's IGMP protocol, then don't allow people to purport underneath the protocol, and otherwise you allow that. I do feel like if IGMP or ICMP are drastically different than TCP or UDP, then we might be better off putting up some other fields, just like you just suggested in the latest email thread. But that's just my opinion.
If you go that way, that means for every new protocol, we should add a new type. For example, IGMP, ICMP.
No, I mean these things we could actually potentially group them in other things, which is like the services you just suggested. We just need to rethink of a name.
Do you think the TCP and UDP are not services?
Not that they're not services, but they can be grouped perfectly under the already existing port section, but the other protocols cannot.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure we can conclude here. Maybe we need more discussion offline.
So there are still two choices two choices, right? One is group protocols together, but have different fields for different protocols. For example, for TCP UDP, port will be used. For HMP, I'm not sure which field it needs, but for SMP, I think maybe something like code will be used in the same struct, but they are other than the protocol, other fields are optional, right? And another way is maybe keep TCP, UDP, SDP, SCP as they are, and having another something similar to ports to specify IGMP or SMP specific attributes. I feel that the former is more common. Right? I remember in firewall definition, such protocols, there is unified UI for such protocols.
Yes, but just as a reminder that if we decided to go with the former, we probably needed a spec bump, because right now we're using the upstream ports section as the ports for ACMP, and there's no additional structs for supporting that. So we needed to create our own ports, quote unquote, section and use a spec bump to update this.
No, we have our own, I think. I just checked it.
Oh, for real?
This is defined in our level.
Oh, let me double check.
Yeah, the same as the upstream one.
Oh, I see. I see. Then I guess we have a little bit more freedom there. Yeah.
But I feel better to keep this existing definition since people are more familiar with it. That's my feeling. Originally, I was thinking maybe we can add a new field here. That one, I was thinking you can also specify TCP or UDP there, but we still keep the ports. But I know that you have two ways to define the same thing. So I don't have a very good idea either. But yeah, I was thinking maybe still good to keep the ports since Kubernetes users are more familiar with ports.
Okay, any other comment regarding the API design? Seems not. Can I just ask you, what is the consensus of this conversation then? It seems that we have not yet made a call on what should be the way forward, right?
I think at least we conclude for multicast, we don't need a new flag or type. We just use IP block to distinguish multicast IP address. And for IGMP, SMP, I think we should consider together, I guess.
Yep, makes sense.
With the multiple options.
Agree. And I guess we are all in agreement on this. And unless someone has any other comment, I would like to move to, I think now the next topic. I think there are also some, Ruochen, do you have anything else to add for multicast enforcement?
Yes.
Yeah. So if there are no other questions regarding the API design, we can move to the next topic about network policy enforcement, multicast network policy enforcement. Let's just wait a few seconds.
Yeah, I will show the updates for the multicast
Sure.
Policy status design. And,
please go ahead. I don't think there are other questions on the API.
Yeah, there's some question, but I will show the basically how API looks like first. And this is a very simple demo, live demo. So we have, I would like to introduce a kubectl command called multicast get multicast group pod members, and it basically shows the list of pods that have joined the specific group for the whole cluster, and these are just the fixed data I randomly generated. Please check the please check the format here, and also there's a ctl command running for the entry engine. So this command shows the number of multicast packets that has sent or received for each pod in the node. And so for the previous discussion, and I suggest add another kubectl command called pod multicast stats that will show the number of multicast packets sent or received, and the number of IGMP packets allowed or dropped. And there's a suggestion that whether these numbers could fit into our already defined network policy stats API. Well, I would say this is a good idea to do that because thematically, network policy stats kubectl commands can represent these numbers. So I will give you a simple example for that. So in case you forgot the command here, we have network policies, entry network policy stats kubectl command. Here, you can see that this command will show pre-network policy stats. And if we add -o JSON, there's you can get even more. You can see the per rule stats here. We can utilize this kind of output format. As you know, each rule could map and allow or drop action for IGMP or multicast traffic. For example, the requirement here, multicast packet dropped by network policy unreceived by the pod interface. We can define them cluster network policy name multicast MP, maybe like that. And it has an ingress rule named drop receive multicast, and after apply this cluster network policy, the users could check the stats from get entry cluster network policy stats multicast MP, that is the network policy with multicast rule I already applied, and find the rule name with job receive multicast. So so we can thematically we can get all these full requirements from the already defined network policy stats API. So we don't need to add another one here. And that's the follow up from the previous discussion. And the API API implementation is already here, and I would appreciate it if you can take time to review, and that's my presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Raj. And I have just a simple question because I think I missed something while you were talking. Are you introducing a new statistics API for multicast or building on top of the existing statistics for cluster network policies?
So in the previous presentation, I introduced two Kubectl public API. One is multicast pod, multicast group pod members that shows this mapping, and another one is pod multicast stats that shows this the stats for each pod. But so I think this one is not necessary because we can represent this using already created network policy stats. And I don't know if I answered.
No. It's yes, you did. Sorry, it was me not paying attention. Thanks a lot for the clarification.
Okay.
Hello, so we still add two commands and APIs for multicast. One is a group member query, right? Another one is the per pod traffic stats, but it's only available in agent, not from the aggregated API and kubectl, right?
Yes.
Among the two commands.
Yes, two commands, and I think it's totally fine to add the kubectl and ctl command and aggregating the entry controller to show the cluster-wide status for this multicast stats command. And then,
has this been aggregated to controller, or it's only available?
It's currently in my design, it's only available for entry engine and for the ctl command.
Oh, okay, makes sense to me. And for group, does this mean that we need to aggregate the members in control?
I think for the multicast group pod members, the aggregation is necessary because there's maybe we have maybe different pods in different nodes have joined the same multicast group, so the aggregate view looks more reasonable to me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me either. And I just have a few one minor comments on the name of the command or the API. I feel pods and members are duplicate. Maybe just keep one multicast group pods or multicast group members. I'm not sure whether what others would think. Yeah. I feel they're kind of duplicate.
Yeah, I think this the name is too long. Maybe multicast group pod group paths?
If we don't have, we only have a single kind of members pods, then maybe we could remove members. If we have multiple kinds, then maybe remove pods, I think. We only have pods, right? We don't have, if we don't record, we don't have external clients information in this API, right?
Yeah, we don't plan to. Yeah, we don't need to show the external, and then it doesn't look. If we don't need to implement this for now, at least. So I think the members here are only referred to pods, and I think your suggestion is I will accept your suggestion. I think this is a good idea to rename it to multicast group members.
I have no
Do you
other
have
questions.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Do we have any other question for Roshan? Waiting a few seconds. All right, so I would like to thank Roshan and Bean for continuing their discussion of multicast network policy enforcement. And it's time to move to the next topic. The second topic on our agenda, as anticipated earlier on, will be Wenqi providing an overview of the design for node selectors in Antrea network policies. So Wenqi, please go ahead.
Wenqi, you muted, I think.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
The the node select in network policy of Antrea is a small feature. It's different from the host firewall or host level network policy. It add a selector in ingress from section or egress to section. Node selector selects particular nodes in the cluster. The selected nodes IPs will be set as sources if node selector set in ingress section, or as destinations if set in egress section. Node selector selects certain nodes which matches the label selector. It adds node IP to egress rules into field or ingress rules in from field. For example, the following rules apply to pods which label app equal to Antrea test app and will drop egress traffic to nodes which have the labels control plan. We can see the network policy that in the egress section, in the two section there is a node selector, which will select the control plane nodes, and it will it will apply to the pods which has labels app equal to control test app and not allow the traffic to the control plane node IPs. I think that's what. Do you have any questions?
I have a question about the node IPs we use when applying the policies, because the node IP will are normally the ones assigned by the infrastructure, but when the nodes talk to ports managed by Antrea, they will not use these node IPs, but use the gateway IP Antrea assigned to them. So which IP we use here, or it includes both of them?
It will only apply to the node IP.
If it currently only includes node IP, I think for ingress case, most of the scenario will not be covered, because if I want to isolate that the control plane for I don't want to specific nodes to access some ports. I use node selector to select them. But the nodes, when the nodes want to talk to these ports, they will use other IPs and they will not be dropped.
Yes.
Even in egress direction, I think they are not able to talk to the control plane API while the public node IP, but they can still talk to them while the gateway IP, I think. Maybe we need a way to be aware of the gateway IPs of all nodes. I'm not sure whether we need to consider other IPs on other interfaces, but I think for internal communication, the gateway IP is very important.
I think it's a good idea. In the other CNIs, such as Selenium and Canonical, they both has host endpoint to to define the interface of the host in the cluster. In such cases, I think the node select need to add an interface controller to implement this these cases, I think.
When you said interface controller, you mean in controller or agent for agent to report the interface IP?
I think both.
Please go ahead.
I think both the controller and agent need to manage the interfaces the agent report is interface to the controller, and controller need to add interface controller.
I'm thinking a simple way is, for example, currently we report node MAC address as an annotation of node object. Maybe a simple way is when we assign a gateway IP to this node, we also make agent report the gateway IP as an annotation. Then in network policy controller, it could it could get the gateway IP from its annotation, but it can only cover this case, cannot cover other multiple interfaces case. And maybe I'm not sure if this is very reliable, but since we have used this approach for node MAC address, I guess it should be okay. Or maybe we could predict the agent IP following the rule how we assign the node the gateway IP, and then no need to add this annotation explicitly.
Yeah, so probably we can just calculate the gateway IP from the port SATA node resource.
Okay. Yeah, then maybe is a way to achieve it.
Yeah, so I think Antonio also had a comment here saying he also agree with the approach.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Thanks, Chan. Are there any other questions regarding this design? By the way, good point about the IPs that need to be selected. Okay, Wenshi, just a quick question. At the moment, do you have just a design, or are you also preparing a POC for this feature? Hello? I just have a quick question on whether this is you're only at the design stage, or you also have a working POC for this capability?
When has a PR, Salvatore?
The
PR is out for review already.
Okay, thanks a lot. I didn't notice that.
So
Okay.
the plan maybe is to we want to merge it in Antrea 1.6, but it also now more co-review from team.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, I was not aware of it. I thought it was like a new feature. Okay, thanks a lot. And right, so I don't have any additional question as well. Is there anything else that you would like to ask Wenshi regarding this feature? Waiting a few seconds as usual. Right, and it seems that there is also about all about a node selector as well. And say that I would like to, I mean, we are in open discussion. So is there anything that you like to bring up for discussion with the community? anything that's bothering you, anything that's concerning you, any idea, innovation? Shall we just move to some other thing and not do Antrea anymore? Yeah, just jokes aside, I don't know if there is any other question, please. Any other question or any other topic that you'd like to bring up, please go ahead. I'll wait a little for you to come with any proposal or topic you'd like to discuss. Okay, so since we have plenty of time, I'll go ahead with something. And just since we are approaching the time for the 1.6 release, we just discussed actually the status of the node selector for 1.6 and its applicability to this upcoming release. Do we have any other feature which might be worth discussing for the 1.6 release in terms of PRs that might need urgent reviews, or features which might actually be a little bit of a risk for 1.6 and we might want to move them to the next release? Are you curious about any of the PRs which are currently under review for 1.6? Okay. Seems that everything is quiet. So Vicky, you are probably the most up-to-date person regarding the status of the release. Do you see any feature at risk for 1.6?
Okay, sorry. Just missed the question. So I want to know the latest status of Antrea 1.6.
Yeah,
I think
yes, go ahead.
yeah. As I can see, the most biggest item for us is the flexible open flow pipeline refactoring. And this patch is very huge and it impacts on the existing logics of data plan implementation. But the good news is Hongliang is working hard on that and I think fixing most of the comments. But today we still got some big, maybe not big, but we still got some comments from Quan and Jianjun. And today we also have internal discussion to discuss, just to discuss how to fix it. So I think the good news is we got a conclusion and how to finalize the PR. And I hope by this week we can merge the huge patch, then we can unblock some DP related implementation from multicast and from flexible IPAM related features. Then I think after that, we can ensure the Antrea 1.6 in a good shape.
Yeah, that's great news. Thanks, Vicky. Does anyone from the community have any questions regarding items which are currently in the queue for being released in 1.6? Otherwise, if there are no additional questions, I think we can close our meeting here and give a few minutes back to everyone. Okay, it seems that there is no additional questions. So I think that we exhausted all the topics for today's meeting. I would like to thank everyone for attending as usual. It's been a great presentation. So most importantly, thanks to Bin, Ruochen, and Wenxing for their presentations, and looking forward to more great presentations in the next Antrea community meeting. Thanks everyone for joining, and talk to you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, guys.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.